The grand chamber of the Galactic Council sparkled like a jeweled cave, its crystal walls reflecting the light of 1,000 stars. Around the circular table, representatives from 30 different species sat in their environmental pods, each one more exotic than the last. Some floated in liquid chambers, others breathed special gas mixtures, and a few existed as pure energy contained in crystalline matrices. High Counselor Vexthor of the Zegtheri adjusted his atmosphere suit and rose from his seat. His silver scales caught the light as he gestured toward the holographic display showing Earth. "Look at them," he said, his translator converting his clicks and whistles into standard galactic common. "Still burning fossil fuels. Still fighting among themselves over arbitrary land borders. They haven't even established a permanent colony on their own moon." His laughter came out as a series of sharp chirps. The other council members joined in the amusement. A gelatinous being from the Merced cluster wobbled in what passed for their version of laughter. "They use chemical rockets to reach orbit." Chemical rockets. My species had quantum drives before they learned to make fire. The hologram shifted to show various human activities. Cars stuck in traffic, factories billowing smoke, and primitive spacecraft that barely reached their orbital station. Each new image brought fresh waves of mockery from the assembled aliens. A crystalline entity from the Rigel system pulsed with blue light as it spoke. "Perhaps we should wait another 1,000 years before making contact. They might figure out clean energy by then." More laughter filled the chamber. Only Ambassador Kittle of the Archery remained silent. Her 4 eyes narrowed as she studied the images. Something about these humans bothered her, though she couldn't quite place what it was. Their technology was indeed primitive, their society fragmented, and yet, "I volunteer the Zegtheri Empire to guide these primitive apes," Vexthor announced grandly. "We have experience with uplifting pre-spaceflight species. Under our guidance, they might achieve basic interplanetary travel within a mere century." The council murmured in agreement. It seemed a reasonable proposal. The humans were clearly in need of assistance, and the Zegtheri had successfully guided 3 other species into the galactic community. As the council prepared to vote on the proposal, a junior archaeologist burst into the chamber. The young archerist's fur was standing on end, a sign of extreme agitation. "High Council, my apologies for the interruption," she said, her voice trembling. "But our preliminary scans of the human homeworld, there's something you need to see." The hologram changed to show deep underground scans of Earth. Strange geometric patterns appeared, far below any human excavation. "These structures," the archaeologist continued, "they appear to be artificial. And according to our initial dating," she paused, double-checking her datapad, "they're at least 300 million years old." Vexthor waved a scaled hand dismissively. "Clearly an error in your equipment. No civilization could be that old. The galaxy itself has only supported complex life for—" "We've checked the readings 12 times, the archaeologist interrupted, a serious breach of protocol that showed just how shaken she was. "And we found similar structures on their moon and on Mars. They're all connected somehow, all of them showing signs of the same builders." The chamber fell silent. The mocking laughter died away. Even Vexthor's scales had lost their shine. Ambassador Kittle finally understood what had bothered her about the humans. They shouldn't have advanced this far this fast. From stone tools to spaceflight in less than 10,000 years. It wasn't just unlikely, it was impossible. "Unless, I move that we delay the contact proposal," she said quietly. "I believe we need to investigate these findings first." No one argued. Somehow, the humans didn't seem quite so amusing anymore. Despite the council's concerns, the Zegtheri proceeded with their first contact plan. They chose New York City for their grand entrance, descending from the clouds in a ship that gleamed like liquid mercury. The humans reacted with a mix of fear, wonder, and suspicion, exactly as the Zegtheri had predicted. What they hadn't predicted was Dr. Sarah Chen's reaction. While other world leaders listened politely to Vexthor's patronizing speech about guiding humanity to the stars, the renowned archaeologist stood at the back of the UN Assembly Hall, frowning at her tablet. Something wrong, Dr. Chen asked her assistant, Tom. These energy readings from the alien ship, she muttered. They're similar to what we detected in that deep cave system in South Africa last month. The HFY delegation set up their base on Governor's Island, converting it into a gleaming outpost of their empire. They began their assessment of Earth's civilization, measuring everything from human technology to cultural development. But they couldn't ignore the growing number of anomalies their sensors detected. 2 weeks after first contact, a HFY science team followed Dr. Chen's team into the South African cave system. The tunnel walls changed as they went deeper, from rough stone to something that looked almost polished. At 3,000 meters down, they found the door. Impossible, whispered Zexkar, the HFY chief scientist. His handheld scanner was going crazy. This metal alloy, we've only theorized about it. The atomic structure is perfectly aligned. Dr. Chen ran her hand over the smooth surface. Strange symbols covered the door, looking both alien and oddly familiar. Can you translate these markings? The alien scientist checked his universal translator. That's another impossible thing, Dr. Chen. These symbols don't match any known language in the galactic database, but they're definitely not random. This is an organized writing system. How old is it? Tom asked. Zexkar's answer made everyone stop breathing for a moment. 312 million years old. The discovery made the HFY uncomfortable, but they couldn't stop looking. Within a month, similar sites were found in the Mariana Trench, deep under the Sahara Desert, and beneath the Antarctic ice. Each one showed signs of incredible technological advancement, and each one was impossibly old. But the biggest shock came when they opened the South African door. Inside, they found a vast chamber filled with machines that still hummed with power. And on the walls, they found images that made the HFY physically recoil. The beings in the ancient murals walked on 2 legs. They had 2 arms, round heads, and a distinctive spine structure. They looked unmistakably human. This can't be right, Vexthor declared when he visited the site. His scales had turned a pale, sickly color. Humans evolved from primitive apes. We have their fossil record. This has to be some kind of coincidence. Dr. Chen pointed to a display that had activated when they entered. It showed star maps, and though the stars were in slightly different positions, due to galactic movement over millions of years, the navigation symbols were written in the same format as modern human space programs used. Coincidence? She asked quietly. Or did we create that format because we somehow remembered it? The HFY leader didn't answer. He was staring at another image, one that showed the beings, the ancient humans, teaching something to a group of younger alien species. Some of those species looked remarkably like the current members of the Galactic Council. Back in their base, Vexthor made an urgent call to the Council. Cancel the guidance program, he said, his voice shaking, and send every archaeological expert you have. There's something very wrong with our understanding of galactic history. In her office, Dr. Chen looked at her own family tree on the wall. Going back 12 generations, she wondered, for the first time, just how far back that tree really went. The discoveries kept coming. A team of mixed human and alien scientists found a massive base beneath the red sands of Mars. Hidden under the ice of Europa, they discovered what appeared to be ancient mining operations. Each site bore the same unmistakable signs of human design, dating back hundreds of millions of years. Dr. Chen stood in the Mars facility, watching as ancient lights flickered to life at their presence. It's like these places were waiting for us, she said to Tom, who was recording everything with shaking hands. The Galactic Council's historians had arrived on Earth, bringing with them the complete records of known spacefaring civilizations. But as they dug deeper into their archives, they found something disturbing. A gap in the records from roughly 300 million years ago. It was as if someone had carefully erased an entire chapter of galactic history. At an emergency meeting in the UN, beings from across the galaxy gathered to share their findings. The Merced representative, a floating blob of transparent gel, presented their analysis. Every spacefaring race has legends, it said through its translator. Stories of those who came before. We always thought they were myths. But look at this. The holographic display showed cave paintings from a dozen different worlds. All of them showed the same thing. Tall, bipedal figures teaching their ancestors. They were not myths, an Arcturi historian added. They were memories. In Tibet, a group of monks approached the research team with ancient texts. The writings spoke of a time when humans walked among the stars. Similar stories emerged from Aboriginal Australians, Native Americans, and tribes in Africa. Tales passed down for countless generations of a time when humanity was greater, when they shepherded younger races and built wonders among the stars. But it was the discovery in the Mariana Trench that changed everything. A vast computer complex, still functioning after millions of years, protected from the crushing depths by force fields that made modern technology look like children's toys. Dr. Chen and a team of experts worked day and night to access its databases. What they found stunned them all. We didn't just have an empire, she explained to the Joint Human-Alien Committee. We seeded life throughout the galaxy. We taught. We protected. We helped new species take their first steps into space. She paused, looking at the alien representatives. Your species, all of you. We were your teachers. The Zizextheri, once so proud and condescending, sat in shocked silence. Their own most ancient texts spoke of the star teachers who vanished long ago. They had never imagined those teachers were the same beings they had mocked as primitives. But one question remained. What had happened? Why had humanity fallen so far? The answer came from an unexpected source. Dr. James Running Bear, a geneticist from Canada, made a breakthrough while studying human DNA. Look at this, he said, pointing to a complex sequence that had always been dismissed as junk DNA. It's not random. It's encoded information, passed down through millions of years of evolution. Our ancestors didn't just restart civilization. They encoded their knowledge into our very genes. Reports began coming in from around the world. People experiencing strange dreams of stars and distant worlds. Children instinctively understanding the ancient technology. A janitor at the Mars facility accidentally activated a transportation system that hadn't worked in millions of years simply by touching it. In their New York base, Vex Thor watched the reports with growing unease. This changes everything, he said to his advisors. If humans are awakening to their heritage. He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. Across the galaxy, ancient systems were coming back online, responding to a presence they had waited eons to sense again. Humanity wasn't just reaching for the stars. They were coming home. In a secret facility beneath the Antarctic ice, Dr. Chen stared at the holographic display floating before her. Her team had finally cracked the encryption on a data cache found in the Mariana Trench facility. What they saw left them speechless. "Play it again," she whispered to Tom. The hologram showed Earth as it was 300 million years ago. Great cities floated in the sky. Ships larger than mountains traveled between stars as easily as modern cars drove down highways. Humans, dressed in suits that seemed to be made of living light, worked alongside strange alien species. But it wasn't just the technology that amazed them. It was the scale. The ancient human empire had spanned over 10,000 light years, encompassing millions of worlds. Dr. Chen, a young researcher, burst into the room. Something's happening. People, they're remembering. Reports flooded in from around the globe. A farmer in Iowa dreamed of piloting a starship and woke up understanding faster than light physics. A schoolgirl in Tokyo suddenly knew how to read the ancient symbols. A construction worker in Brazil touched an unearthed artifact and activated defensive systems that had laid dormant for millions of years. The encoded memories in human DNA were awakening. At an emergency UN session, Dr. Running Bear explained what was happening. Our ancestors didn't just hide their technology, he said, pointing to complex genetic diagrams. They hid their knowledge inside us. in our dreams, in our instincts, in the very structure of our brains. They knew we would need time to grow, to develop wisdom before reclaiming our heritage. But not everyone welcomed this awakening. In their base on Governor's Island, the HFY were making plans of their own. The humans must be stopped, Vex Thor declared to his inner council. If they fully awaken to their power, everything will change. Our position in the galaxy, our authority, all of it will be lost. They didn't realize Dr. Chen's team had already cracked their security codes. Through hidden cameras, she watched the HFY plotting to destroy the ancient sites and suppress humanity's awakening memories. "We can't let them do this," Tom said, watching the feed. "Those memories, that knowledge, it's who we are." "No," Dr. Chen corrected him. "It's who we were. Who we become now is up to us." She touched a panel on the wall, and to everyone's surprise, including her own, it responded to her fingerprint. A hidden door slid open, revealing a chamber that hummed with power. Inside, they found something extraordinary, a message, left by their ancestors, waiting for the moment when humans would be ready to understand it. A hologram appeared, a woman dressed in that strange liquid light. When she spoke, her words were in a language none of them had heard before, yet somehow they all understood. "If you're seeing this," she said, "then humanity has begun to remember. You have grown enough to rediscover your heritage. But remember why we chose this path. We were not destroyed. We were not defeated. We chose to start over." The message continued, explaining how the ancient humans had reached the peak of their civilization, only to realize they were becoming stagnant. Without challenges, without the drive to grow and learn, they were losing the very qualities that had made them great. "So we made a choice," the ancient human explained. "We encoded our knowledge and went back to the beginning. We chose to grow again, to learn again, to strive again. And when you were ready, when you had rebuilt your civilization through your own efforts, only then would the memories begin to return." Dr. Chen looked at her team, seeing the same understanding in their eyes. They weren't just remembering who they had been. They were becoming something new, a species with both the wisdom of the ancients and the fresh perspective of youth. In orbit, the first of the ancient defense platforms began to power up. News of humanity's true nature spread across the galaxy like a shockwave. The Galactic Council split into two factions, those who welcomed humanity's return and those who feared it. Ancient defense systems, dormant for millions of years, began lighting up across thousands of worlds, responding to human brain patterns that were finally awakening. In her Antarctic lab, Dr. Chen monitored the growing crisis. "Look at this," she said, pointing to a star map showing activated systems. "They're forming a network. Our ancestors left us a defensive grid spanning the entire galaxy." But not everyone was happy about these discoveries. The HFY led a coalition of species demanding that humans be contained for the safety of the galaxy. They started destroying ancient human sites, claiming they were removing dangerous artifacts. Tom rushed into the lab, his face pale. "They're attacking the Mars facility. The HFY ships just opened fire on it." On the screens, they watched HFY warships bombarding the Martian surface. But something unexpected happened. As their weapons struck the facility, ancient shields flickered to life, absorbing every blast. "They really don't understand, do they?" said Maria Santos, a Brazilian teenager who had been brought to the facility after showing strong ancestral memories. "We didn't just build things to last years or centuries." She touched a control panel, her fingers moving with certainty she didn't consciously understand. "We built them to last eons." Across Earth, more people were experiencing ancestral memories. A taxi driver in New York suddenly knew how to operate quantum communications. A chef in Beijing dreamed of terraforming worlds. A teacher in Lagos found herself sketching plans for ships that could fold space itself. Dr. Running Bear's genetics team made another breakthrough. "The memories aren't random," he explained to Dr. Chen. "They're awakening in a specific sequence, like a carefully designed program. Our ancestors wanted us to remember things in the right order. In orbit, the Arcturian ambassador Catal made a decision. Her ships moved to protect Earth from the growing HFY fleet. We remember the teachings she broadcast on all frequencies. We remember the kindness. We stand with humanity. Other species joined her. The Merced, the Regelians, and dozens more positioned their ships alongside the Arcturi. They had all found records in their oldest histories of how humans had guided their first steps into space. But the HFY weren't finished. Vexthor, his scales now permanently pale with fear, gave an order that would change everything. Release the planet killer. A massive weapon, hidden in the Orc cloud, began moving toward Earth. It was powerful enough to crack a planet's crust. The Allied ships moved to intercept it, but they knew they wouldn't reach it in time. That's when Maria closed her eyes and smiled. "Watch," she said softly. Across Earth, millions of humans suddenly shared the same memory. Mountains that had stood since the dawn of human history began to move. What everyone had thought were natural formations were actually camouflaged ships and defense platforms, waiting for the moment when humanity would remember how to use them. We hid our greatest works in plain sight, Dr. Chen realized, watching as mountains across the globe transformed into gleaming structures of impossible technology. We've been living among them our entire history. The planet killer never reached Earth. A beam of light shot up from what had been Mount Everest, and the massive weapon simply ceased to exist, transformed into harmless energy that lit up the sky like an aurora. Vexthor's ship received a transmission. It was Dr. Chen, but her voice carried the weight of millions of years of hidden history. "We remember who we were," she said, "but more importantly, we remember why we chose to start over. Stand down, or we'll show you why the entire galaxy once looked to humanity for guidance." In the silence that followed, ancient starships rose from oceans, deserts, and ice caps, ready to protect their inheritors once again. The transformation of Earth was beyond anything even the most advanced alien species had imagined. As human consciousness continued to awaken, more ancient technology revealed itself. The Great Pyramid turned out to be a control center. The Grand Canyon was actually a massive shipyard, hidden under a technological camouflage that had lasted millions of years. Dr. Chen stood at what used to be the peak of Mount Fuji, now revealed as the command center of Earth's defense network. "Our ancestors didn't just hide their technology," she said to the assembled human and alien leaders. "They merged it with Earth's natural systems. Every volcano, every deep ocean trench, every mountain range served a purpose." But the HFY weren't finished. After their planet killer failed, Vexthor gathered every ship from their empire. "If we can't destroy them," he announced to his fleet, "we'll lock them away on their precious Earth forever." The HFY attack came from all directions at once. Thousands of ships dropped out of hyperspace, surrounding Earth in a spherical formation. Their weapons charged, ready to create an unbreakable energy barrier around the planet. That's when Maria, now working with Dr. Chen, felt another memory unlock. She smiled. "They still don't understand what they're dealing with." She pressed her hand against a crystalline panel. Across Earth, dormant systems awakened. The planet's magnetic field, controlled by technology hidden in the Earth's core for millions of years, flexed like a muscle. The HFY ships found themselves frozen in place, caught in a web of gravitational forces they couldn't comprehend. "We were the first," Maria said, her voice carrying ancestral knowledge. "The first species to achieve sentience, the first to reach the stars. We had millions of years to prepare for this moment." On screens around the world, humans watched as the true scale of their ancestors' achievements was revealed. The moon wasn't just Earth's natural satellite, it was a massive monitoring station. The asteroid belt wasn't random space debris. It was a carefully positioned defense line. Vexthor, trapped on his flagship, received a transmission from Dr. Running Bear. "We've finished decoding more of the genetic memories," the geneticist said. "Want to know what we found?" Humanity didn't just guide the evolution of alien civilizations. We guided the evolution of all complex life in the galaxy. The revelation hit the galaxy like a thunderbolt. Every species, including the Zixitheri, owed their existence to human science. Before retreating to Earth and starting over, humanity had seeded thousands of worlds with life, carefully nurturing the evolution of new intelligent species. In Antarctica, Dr. Chen accessed the final records. The truth was both simpler and more profound than anyone had imagined. The ancient humans hadn't just been powerful, they had been responsible. They had watched over the galaxy's development like gardeners tending to different plants, each unique and valuable in its own way. "Release their ships," she ordered Maria. The gravitational web disappeared. The ZX-30 ships hung in space, no longer attacking but not retreating either. Dr. Chen opened a channel to all ships, her voice carrying across space in every known language. "We remember everything now. We remember why we chose this path. Power without wisdom is dangerous. Knowledge without growth is stagnant. We chose to forget so we could remember what it means to learn." She paused, letting the words sink in. "We're not your conquerors. We're not your enemies. We're your predecessors, and we chose to sleep so you could grow. The question now is, have we all grown enough to work together?" The ZX-30 ships powered down their weapons. Across the galaxy, ancient human structures awakened, not as weapons, but as bridges between stars. The time of hiding was over. In orbit, the sun rose over Earth, illuminating a planet that was both ancient and new, its true nature finally revealed to the cosmos once again. 1 year after the revelation of humanity's true nature, the galaxy had changed beyond recognition. The old Galactic Council chamber, once a place of mockery towards humans, now served as the center for a new era of cooperation between species. Dr. Chen stood before the assembled representatives, no longer in an environmental pod, but on an open platform. The chamber itself was a gift from awakened human technology, able to accommodate all species without barriers between them. "Our ancestors left us more than just technology," she said, looking at faces both alien and familiar. "They left us a choice. We could reclaim our position as rulers of the galaxy, or we could choose a different path." In the past year, humanity had fully awakened to their genetic memories. Every human now carried the knowledge of their ancestors, but they also carried something more precious, the perspective of having grown up without it. Maria, now heading the Ancient Technology Integration Program, demonstrated their new approach. On the main display, she showed images of humans and aliens working together to solve problems neither could handle alone. "We were the first," she explained, "but being first doesn't make us better. It just gave us more time to make mistakes and learn from them." The Zixitheri, once their greatest opponents, had undergone the most dramatic change. Vexthor himself now served as a bridge between the old and new ways. His scales had regained their shine, but his attitude was forever changed. "We thought leadership meant standing above others," he admitted to the assembly. "Humanity showed us it means helping others stand with you." Dr. Running Bear presented the final findings from the genetic memory studies. "Our ancestors encoded not just knowledge, but wisdom," he said. "They knew that starting over, experiencing struggle and growth again, would give us something invaluable: empathy." Across the galaxy, ancient human facilities were repurposed. Instead of weapons, they became centers of learning. Instead of defense platforms, they became bridges between worlds. The technology that had lain dormant for millions of years now served all species equally. On Earth, mountains still transformed into starships, but they carried teachers and explorers rather than warriors. The deep-sea bases became universities where all species could study together. Even the Moon, that ancient monitoring station, was now the galaxy's largest cultural exchange center. Tom, recording it all as he had from the beginning, asked Dr. Chen the question everyone wondered about. "Do you think this is what our ancestors hoped for?" She smiled, touching a panel that showed the galaxy in all its living complexity. They gave us back our memories, but they also gave us the wisdom to use them differently. We're not repeating the past. We're building something new. In the chamber center, a new memorial stood, a simple DNA helix made of light, spiraling upward into the stars. Around it, in every language of the galaxy, were written the words, "To grow, we must sometimes forget. To truly learn, we must remember why we chose to begin again." As the session ended, representatives from every species came together, not as rulers and subjects, but as partners in the galaxy's future. The ancient humans had been the first to achieve greatness, but their greatest achievement was choosing to step back and let others find their own path. And now, millions of years later, their descendants had found something better than ruling the galaxy. They had found a way to help it grow. Dr. Chen looked out at the stars through the chamber's crystal walls. Somewhere out there, she knew, new species were taking their first steps toward consciousness. And when they reached for the stars, they would find not masters waiting to rule them, but teachers waiting to guide them. The galaxy had come full circle, and the story that began with mockery had ended with understanding. Humanity had not just reclaimed their place among the stars. They had found a better one. The end.